what I like about it is, I believe that content, as we discussed before, and I should say that my little show Prom Queen had an exclusive window on MySpace, and you guys were incredible in making it.
It was a big hit.
It was. And I'm a believer that eventually content, story-driven content, will be part of what defines platforms. It feels like MySpace, with their new announcement of MySpace TV and so forth, believes in content. A story, not user-generated, yes, but also professionally generated.
Correct. Definitely everything's in the experimentation phase right now. But one thing that I am seeing is that the larger media companies are much more willing to do deals to distribute their content to make sure that it's ubiquitous, because they're beginning to understand that you can't dictate what an internet user or a younger person does these days to consume their content.
And, you know, Desperate Housewives is known to be an ABC show. But in the future, there'll be a show that'll be known as a MySpace show, or not. I don't know.
I don't think I think if you ask 50, 16-year-olds, they wouldn't know that Desperate Housewives is an ABC show. I don't think people...
ABC will be upset to learn that, but you're probably right.
Yeah, I just, and it's, you know, there's a lot of great shows out there. I just don't, there's so many channels out there and so many sources to find content that, you know, the definition of where the show came from, namely the network that's running it, is not as important. I think HBO is...
HBO was made by its...
HBO has branded themselves with amazing content, and they've been the one sort of network that's
But they used to be only a distributor of other people's content, movies and other people's shows. They made their name, their second spurt was through that content.
Yeah, our whole video strategy and the amount of effort we're putting into adding new features and doing content deals, from professional content with NBC and Fox to, you know, emerging videographers, you know, to working with producers like you that are assembling all the up-and-coming talent and bringing it all into one place where communities can develop around this content.
The difference between you and me as a young generation executive and me as an older generation is I would go to Paramount or Disney or ABC, and it was all set up. And all I had to do was find a better television show or a better movie. You have to find not only that, but constantly a better business. I didn't have to reinvent ABC every 5 minutes or reinvent Disney. All I had to do is kind of update it and make it better.
Right.
And you got to find what is the next thing that your community really wants to do. Is that right? Or do you just have to make now what you've established perfect?
Well,
if there's such a thing.
Yeah, you have to do both. So you have to make sure that the core social networking features are working and continually improve. But you also have to look outwards.
Are you surprised by the fact that 3 or 4 years ago you were worrying about, you know, how to deal with spam and email and, you know...
All the mundane things that you mentioned are still a big part of my life. You know, we worry about, you know, people abusing the site on a daily basis.
Protecting kids, you have to worry about that.
Yeah, we have a whole team of people that's devoted to that.
That actually would be an issue here, wouldn't it? Because it's such a ubiquity in the site that people lie about who they are. They come on and make their own page something that may not be. You have that. You do have to deal with that.
Well, it's the internet in general, right? I mean, there's a certain anonymity in the internet, and if you look at the features we have on MySpace, what we've done is we've sort of aggregated the coolest features around in a really interesting way, but we haven't reinvented the wheel in any way particularly. But what has happened is it's become so much bigger than any other community site that it's gotten a lot of attention, and there's so many people using it that we have to pioneer the whole internet safety issue from, you know, a lot of different standpoints, from education to, you know, not just educating the people on our site through safety tips, but parents organizations, teachers organizations, law enforcement.
Is there more pressure on you now that you're part of News Corp than when you were just independent in that area?
I don't really think it's a function of News Corp. I think it's a function of, you know, at a really base level, we need to make sure our community's happy, and we need to make sure that our site is working in a way that makes people want to come on, you know, multiple times a day. And if they're interacting with content that is inappropriate to them, they're not going to come. We're not going to be able to sell advertising. You know, the brands aren't going to want to associate themselves with that. So it's always been a #1 priority, and I think we've done a darn good job at it.
Your company, and a few companies like it, but your company in the leadership role, is changing so many businesses. It's changed the advertising business. It's changed the music business. It's going to change the content business. And there may be a lot of nervous people watching this saying, how is it going to change my business? And it is going to change everybody's business, and they just have to deal with it. And thank you very much.
It's great to see you again. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Thank you, Chris.